What up, sports fans? Waxon Wednesday. This is Jake Waxman, and Tyler Level at Two Guys Talk Sports. Well, let's do this. All right, so it's the night before draft night, or Thursday, and even though the focus should be on draft night, there's a couple other subjects I want to get to, starting with the Bears and the city of Chicago announcing plans, or the Bears chairman, who is Kevin Warren, the former Big Ten commissioner, unveiling a rendering of what the new stadium could and may very well look like in the future. The new Chicago Bears stadium. They announced plans for a stadium on the lakefront, close by to where Soldier Field would be. This would mean Soldier Field would be demolished, minus the part of it that was considered very historic and shouldn't be torn down. The columns that made up the stadium. From what I'm seeing in the rendering, those would be preserved, but not much else of the stadium would be preserved. So, honestly, mixed feelings about it. It looks good. Looking at it, it does look pretty good. The stadium does look pretty good. It does remind me a bit of Allegiant Stadium without it looking like a complete and utter hockey puck. And that's no disrespect towards Allegiant Stadium, because that's a cool stadium. It just looks like a hockey puck when you think about it, because it's painted in black. Of course, so the Bears' new stadium would look like Allegiant Stadium if Allegiant Stadium wasn't painted in black, of course. Or we call it Allegiant Stadium 2.0. So, it looks cool, alright? Just from the looks of it. So, but I do have mixed feelings about it, okay? It looks good, but overall, I have mixed feelings about it. Honestly, I really wanted to see the Bears go to Arlington Heights. I really wanted to see them build their own stadium. One they could... Stadium which the Chicago Bears organization could own themselves, could make plenty of money off of it, and make it get much easier to get to and from the stadium, whether it's through Metro or just by driving, commute, and and plenty of access to parking lots, and even other things around, other pieces of infrastructure. I would have loved to have seen that all come together, because I think that would have looked really awesome. I mean, sure, it would have been a 45-minute drive from Chicago, but hey, could have worked. But it also sounds like to me the deal with Arlington Heights fell through. It sounds like both the Bears and Arlington Heights couldn't come to an agreement. So, but that's about all I know at this point. So, on the other hand, hey, I understand the city of Chicago's efforts, though, to keep the team in the Windy City. And hey, the lakefront, beautiful view. It's a beautiful view. I will give Chicago that much. The only thing I don't like about it is how difficult it is. I mean, it was difficult to get to Soldier Field. It's difficult to get to Soldier Field from what I've heard. Like, parking is minimal, and getting there, even by car, is difficult in its own right, because traffic in Chicago is always congested. And the location of this new stadium would be next to Soldier Field, or the site of Soldier Field. And that, unless they decide to put more parking there, but considering it's a historic site, I just don't see that at all coming together. It's going to be difficult. That's the big problem I have with the new Bears stadium. It's going to be difficult to put in more parking, ease of access. Like, we need to get commuter trains going there, or even buses. That's going to be really more difficult. So, and I think this really does not benefit the Bears at all. It's going to be harder for them to rake in more profit, especially if that's what the McCaskies are really trying to do. That's where Arlington Heights would have been the better move, but what do I know? Could have been the deal fell through there, and they in Chicago are finally in negotiations, and it looks like moving forward, this is what's going to be the plan. Still a lot can change, but these are just my overall thoughts on the stadium. It's a neutral sign. There was plenty I liked better about Arlington Heights, but I'm not going to get too much into it. It is what it is, so I'll just go with it. As long as the Bears are getting a new stadium and a bigger stadium, and one that can host the Super Bowl, Final Four, all that stuff. Hey, as long as it might benefit both Chicago and the Bears. I'd like to see that. Okay, bring in more money for both sides. Okay, so as long as both sides win, then it works for me. So that's just my thoughts, dude. But the biggest problem I have with this new stadium, that means the taxpayers are going to be probably funding this stadium more so than the owners and the city of Chicago. And by the way, for those of you who do not know, the taxpayers of Chicago, they are still paying for the renovations of Soldier Field. Like, over 20 years on, and those renovations have still not been fully paid yet. Blows my mind. So, that's another problem I have with the new stadium. But that's where I'll leave this subject. All right. Now I'll take a break from that, and before I go back in the NFL draft, Indycar is on my radar today. So we're 2 races into the season, and ho boy, there was a massive hammer drop today in the Indycar series. A penalty the likes of which we, as racing fans, have never seen. I've never seen anything like this, even when I used to watch NASCAR. This is a penalty. The penalty that IndyCar handed out to Penske Racing today, it's unlike Team Penske, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. So, in case you're wondering what happened, this goes back to a month ago, at the conclusion of the race at St. Petersburg. So IndyCar did some investigating or did some post-race, inspections as is traditional or mandatory. And what they found was something truly shocking. So, for those of you who've never heard, IndyCar race cars have a system called push to pass. It's where you get a boost of 50% horse. It's a boost, like in Mario Kart, a boost. So you get 50% extra horsepower for like a few seconds, and you get, I think about 120 to 200 seconds of push to pass per race. It gives you a boost of 50 horsepower. You go a little bit faster. The only downside of it, and it helps you make passes easier, only downside of it is it means you burn more fuel. Now, something to keep in mind is IndyCar, the activation of a push to pass or the management of push to pass is in a way under the discretion of IndyCar. So drivers are not allowed to use push to pass until they hit the restart box or the start finish line in most IndyCar races, from what I understand. Penske Racing, now here's where the crime comes in. Penske Racing, from what I heard, developed a software system in their race cars that allows them to use push to pass whenever they desire. Even before they get to like the restart zone or the start finish line. They can activate with this system, they could activate the push to pass. Wow. And from what I understand, this was used during testing of hybrid testing or preseason testing. And apparently, Penske never took it out of their cars. They kept it in those cars for St. Petersburg. And the same with the Grand Prix of Long Beach. They had those systems in place, from what I could tell. Maybe not during the race, though. I don't know all the details then again. But IndyCar found these systems, and just today, like over a month after that race in St. Petersburg, they dropped the hammer on Penske Racing. So, Joseph Newgarden of Team Penske won at St. Petersburg, and Scott McLaughlin finished second. Both of those drivers were found to have used this illegal system of push to pass, or this illegal software. So IndyCar has dropped the hammer, and this is how it goes, okay? So both Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin, who finished 1-2 in the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, over 1 month after that race, both of those two drivers were disqualified. That means their results do not count. They lost all their points, and Joseph Newgarden has to forfeit his victory from St. Petersburg. So now, how about this? The winner of even though this guy didn't cross the line first, the winner of the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is now Arrow McLaren's Pato Award. After going winless last year, he's winless no more. The only thing that sucks is he doesn't get to celebrate it because he's awarded the trophy on a technicality. Now, I mentioned 2 of the Penske cars. There's actually 3. Will Power, of course, is the third, and he had this system too. But unlike his teammates, his result still stands, actually. In fact, he got upgraded to second place. However, he was docked 10 championship points, but he gets to keep his second place finish. He did finish 4th initially, but has moved up to 2nd because of the disqualification of his teammates. Now, why was that? From what I understand, bear with me, from what I understand, Will Power chose not to take advantage of this illegal software. He decided to use push to pass the way drivers are normally supposed to use it. And good on him. Good move on his part. And you know what? He saved his team a lot of points and saved himself a much more severe penalty. Had he used it like his teammates did, had he used that illegal software, he would have been disqualified as well. But because he chose not to, his result still stands, albeit he loses 10 points for having the system in place. And probably a fine as well. But overall, here's my thoughts on this. This is, you know what? I applaud IndyCar for doing this, for bringing down the hammer on Penske. There were some people who were worried because Penske owns the IndyCar series as well as his own team in the series. There was some thought that they would get off lightly or get a slap on the wrist. Oh, no. IndyCar brought the hammer down on Penske, and that's what they should have done. And though it took them longer than it probably should have, although it's a good chance there was an investigation to try and figure out what it was. Good move. I think IndyCar made the right move and did the right thing, penalizing those two Penske cars, because being able to push to pass whenever you want, that is a huge advantage. That makes all the difference. So it's no wonder why IndyCar would frown upon something like this, because instead of having to wait till you cross a certain line to use it, you get to use it whenever you want. So, good job by IndyCar setting an example and setting the bar and saying, look, if we don't stop Penske from doing this, other teams will do this, and it'll get out of control. And from what I've also heard, Team Penske does not plan to appeal this penalty, from what I heard. And my thought on this is, I think they understand pretty well that, hey, we got our hands caught in the cookie jar. I think we pushed too far, and we got to respect IndyCar's decision on this. So that's just my overall thoughts. It's a good move by IndyCar to announce these penalties, because we don't want because hey, credibility matters. And we've seen certain series, NFL, even NASCAR at times, have problems with credibility. And IndyCar's race control has had questions about credibility, but making this move helps the sport's image a lot, and especially in the spirit of fair play. Okay, maybe it took them a little too long to make this decision or this announcement, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that they were looking into it and trying to find all the evidence they needed to prove that Penske had used this legal system. So that wouldn't surprise me either. So to IndyCar, good job. Tyler, I'm sorry. I know Joseph Newgarden's your favorite driver, but the rules are the rules. And you got to stay within the box. Okay, push to pass. It's a heavy advantage enough as it is, but being able to use it whenever you want, oh boy, that's even huger advantage. Maybe too huge. So, just my thoughts on these penalties that IndyCar has thrown down on Roger Penske. And now, we can move on. Sorry, I need to catch my breath. Alright. Just thinking about that whole thing. That was a good job by IndyCar. Now, it's time to make some NFL draft predictions. Okay. I'll just cut right to the chase. I've come up with a couple of scenarios, but I'm only going to tell you one, and this is scenario number one, which is this is what I think is going to happen, okay? Going to cut to the chase as fast as I can and tell you what I think is going to happen. To the surprise of absolutely no one, the Chicago Bears take Caleb Williams, the quarterback from USC, at number 1. I hope they go a different direction. I'd love to see him get Jaden Daniels or even, say, a J.J. McCarthy or even Michael Penix, but my gut tells me it's going to be Caleb. I think it's always been Caleb for the Bears, and I think that's the direction they're going, and nothing seems to have changed the Bears' mind. Unless, of course, they trade down from number 1. If they're staying at number 1, that tells me they're going to take Caleb Williams. But you never know. I just think it's going to be Williams. That's what my mind is telling me. And then the Washington Commanders, who host the number 2 pick. I've got them taking Jaden Daniels at number 2, the quarterback from LSU. First 3 picks will be quarterbacks, as the Patriots take North Carolina quarterback Drake May at number 3. And then we got the Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr., a phenom of a wide receiver, a generational talent, available at number 4. I don't think the Cardinals can let this guy pass. I can see them taking Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 4. And then now here we go to number 5. The Los Angeles Chargers hold this pick. Hold up! I got a bold prediction here. I see a trade that happens here between Chargers and Giants. They trade up. Chargers get a lot of calls for trading at number 5 from several teams, but the Giants will make the best offer. And if the Giants make this trade, or whoever makes this trade with Los Angeles, that is a team that is looking for a quarterback. And in this case, I've got the Giants trading up with the Los Angeles Chargers. They swap picks. So now New York Giants are at number 5, Los Angeles Chargers at number 6. And I've got the New York Giants. A lot of talk about them going for a wide receiver, but they may also be looking at a quarterback. My prediction here, Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy goes number 5 overall to the New York Giants. So Los Angeles moves down to number 6. Who do they get? I'm going to go with Louisiana State University wide receiver Malik Nabers. That's right. They lost Keenan Allen in free agency, so they need to replace him and get Justin Herbert another weapon. Why not a guy like Malik Nabers? They could also take Rome Odunze, too. But it wouldn't surprise me if they went with either Odunze or Nabers. I'll go with Nabers, though, because SEC bias. And now, moving on, we got the Tennessee Titans at number 7. They need some help on that O-line. And who better to get than the Notre Dame offensive tackle, Joe Alt. There is also that guy, Frajnow, from Penn State, but I think Alt seems to make more sense here, because I think he's the best offensive line prospect in this draft. So, and Notre Dame's known for their offensive line talent. So, Joe Alt to the Tennessee Titans at number 7. Atlanta Falcons, they're drafting number 8. I've got them going with a cornerback out of Toledo by the name of Quinion Mitchell, who is considered the best corner in this draft. And Falcons, they need some secondary help. So, that's what I got there at number 8. And then we go to the Chicago Bears at number 9. Now, I want to start by saying this. There's a lot of different things also the Bears could do at 9. That's the pick I am the most curious about. What are they going to do? What are they going to do at number 9? Are they going to trade down, potentially? Or will they stay there? If they stay at number 9, that tells me they're going wide receiver. And I will say this. If Rome Odunze falls to number 9, I think the Bears will take him. If he I think the Bears, Odunze was seen running in the same plane as Caleb Williams, and I heard those two have actually practiced together. So the Bears, I think, like the chemistry these two already have, so why not? Now, that all comes down to whether or not Odunze falls to the Bears. It either will or it won't happen. It's a 50-50 chance. My gut tells me it's going to happen. My gut tells me he's going to fall. And fall right into the Bears' lap. Now, for the record, I'll go on the record and say this. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the guy I wanted the most. And I still hope the Bears can somehow get him. But the chances are very low at this point. Especially considering they need a quarterback now. And there's wide receiver needy teams ahead of them after their first pick. Like, you got Los Angeles, Arizona, even New York. So I think one of those teams will get Marvin Harrison Jr. But you never know. So if, for Lord knows what reason, Marvin Harrison Jr. falls to the Bears at number 9, then go get him, Chicago. I just don't think it's going to happen. My heart hopes it happens, but I don't think so. But getting a Odunze would be a nice pick as well. I also would be very happy with Malik Nabers and the tight end out of Georgia, Brock Bowers. I would love to get him as well. I know he's a tight end, and the Bears have Cole Kmet at tight end, but hey, Bears need a receiving threat, and they need to build depth there. And why not get a guy like him, or a Odunze, or Nabers? I'd be happy with any of those. Now, if the Bears do decide to go with like a guy named Jared Verse out of Alabama, who's an edge, or someone on the defensive side, then you trade down. So, a lot of things that the Bears could do at number 9. But with that said, I predict with the 9th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Bears select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington. That's my prediction. And they add on to that wide receiver depth. Here's another thing to consider. Why would they pick a wide receiver at number 9? Keenan Allen has only 1 year left. Although the Bears got Keenan Allen in free agency, he's got 1 year left on his deal. And I'm not 100% certain the Bears are looking at re-signing him beyond this season. So in case they decide they don't, there you go. Got your number 2 wide receiver already ready to go. And he could learn a thing or a lot under Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore. That would help a guy like Rome Odunze out a lot. And then finally, I'm only doing the top 10 for the record. So I'm not doing the whole draft, just the top 10. And finally, rounding up the top 10. Jets draft at number 10. And I've got them taking the tight end out of Georgia, Brock Bowers. So the Jets get their deep. So the Jets will be looking for a wide receiver, but getting a tight end like Brock Bowers will still help them a lot because Brock Bowers can be a terrific deep threat tight end. So he's a tight end that could play like a wide receiver. So that's what I'm getting at. So anyway. Oh, shoot. To the Detroit Lions fans, I'm so sorry. You want to know who I think they're going to be taking, don't you? Well, I have a prediction there too. Can't tell you where it's going to be, but I predict the Detroit Lions, they're going to trade up from the 29th pick. And they'll go up in the draft, trade a couple picks, because they got nothing to lose. And my prediction is they will select Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa. And keep in mind, not many weaknesses for the Lions and a team that's probably going to be favored to get to the Super Bowl and maybe win it. But if there's one weakness the Lions need to address, secondary, more secondary. Getting a corner like Cooper DeJean will help you a lot. All right, that's my predictions for the NFL Draft. Top 10. And the Lions, of course, 2024. All right, on to this day in sports history. And on this day, the 24th of April, 1974, the National Football League grants a franchise to the city of Tampa Bay. And that franchise would become what we know today as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, sports fans, I hope you enjoyed the draft tomorrow and the rest of that draft this weekend. Thank you so much for watching this week's Waxon Wednesday. Once again, enjoy the draft. And let me know what your predictions are down below in the comments. This is Jake Waxman from Two Guys Talk Sports, signing off.